Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about something slightly different. It's not a lightsaber review as such. It's actually a review of this Exactra 20 or Exactra Ti-20 vintage calculator and how it relates to all of these lightsabers basically. You can see in front of you here there's a group of lightsaber hilts from the original trilogy. Here's Luke Skywalker's Graflex from A New Hope, Luke's Empire Strikes Back Graflex. This is Obi-Wan's Hero Belt Hanger from A New Hope. Here we've got Luke Skywalker's Hero Belt Hanger from Return of the Jedi. And here we've got three different variations of Darth Vader's MPP lightsaber. The first two are from A New Hope, and this one is from Empire Strikes Back. All of these, as far as we know, have parts on them that have been harvested from this calculator. So there's just a brief history about this. This is a calculator that was around in the early 1970s. It was very, very cheap and very widely available. Texas Instruments, Exactra, and the correct models that supplied the parts for all these builds is either Exactra 20 or Exactra 19. I think they're pretty much identical, at least for the purposes of these builds. There was also another one that was released, I think, just in Europe. It was called Ti-2000. So it's really these three calculators that are going to give you the parts that are accurate to these builds. So let's go ahead and just look at all the parts that are available in this calculator that have been used and utilized in these props. So first of all, I did actually undo this and pop some batteries in. It takes 3 AA batteries. I was just curious to see if it worked because the contact strips looked quite eroded, being something, almost 50 years old. I was curious whether it would work or not, but to my surprise and delight, it works. So there we go. There's a display with 7 digits. There are other Exactra calculators with 9 digits. Those are not going to be accurate for these, which I'll explain a little bit why later on as I open it up and show you. So let's go ahead and look. The first thing I want to look at is from the back. You see here it says Ti-20 electronics calculator made by Texas Instruments, etc., etc. It's from the 1970s. I think it was like 1974 it was around. And it looks like the Lucasfilm prop department just went ahead and bought a ton of these because clearly it was utilized in many of these props, and probably a lot more than I have over here in front of me. So the first part is these 2 screws here in the back. There's some debate about whether these were actually used or not. These are, a lot of people think that these screws here on the ESB Graflex, there are 6 screws down here, as you can see, 6 black screws in the grip area. Now, these are exactly the same sort of size, dimensions. They're Phillips head screws. They do look the same. So it is possible that they used 3 calculators because each of them just has a pair. So you'd need 3 calculators to give you the 6 screws. It is possible. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever know. But there is a lot of doubt and skepticism as to why would they actually do that. They probably just had a box of screws lying around, to be honest, and it's just a coincidence that they match. It's not something that we'll ever know for sure, but a lot of people use these, and in fact mine are all vintage. So all 6 of these are harvested from 3 Exactra calculators. It may be overkill to do that though. I mean, these nowadays are not cheap, so you're looking at buying essentially 3 of them just to get these 6 screws. So it is a little bit much. but they're from the right era, so it is possible, but I don't know if it's likely. So yeah, those two screws possibly used for the Graflex ESB, a Phillips head screw. So I'm just going to take these off. I'll have a closer look at these screws. And if you're wondering why are they silver, the screws on the ESB are black, well, we don't know that either. We know that in the scenes in Hoth, they appear to be a little bit more silverish. Whether they were painted black they were probably painted black to kind of blend in with the grips and not be visible. And if the Hoth scenes were shot in Norway after the Bespin scenes, that it is possible that that paint kind of came off between the snow and the weather and things like that. I mean, that's just a theory. So these are the two vintage Exactra screws. So these would need to be obviously cut and glued into the grip if you want to preserve the flash underneath, if you have a vintage flash, which is what I've done here. So again, unfortunately, you'd need 6 of these to complete the set, which means it's 3 calculators. So we'll put that aside. That's Graflex ESB done. 2 screws. Moving on, let's open it up and have a look. Okay. There's a top shell. Nothing much from here. It's the internals that we want to look at. So first of all, you can see there's a couple of switches here. These are the on and off switches. And the other switch is to convert from, oh, I don't know what that is. That looks like a $sign. I have no idea what that F means. Presumably decimals or something, but anyway. Sorry, I don't know what that does, but there you have it. So these 2 switches, again, this is largely hypothetical, but it seems to match the switch inside the Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi hero, the cave build that he has in the deleted scene when he slides down this control box card like that, and he's got his little tool and he's adjusting it, and then these lights start to come on sequentially. So there is definitely a switch up there of some sort, and there are close-up pictures of this prop, so we know that this switch looks pretty much exactly like that. I'm just going to zoom into it a little bit. This is obviously a replica. This is the 7 Chambers mom. I've done a good job at replicating the way it looks, but if you look at it, it does actually match it. It does look very, very similar, if not identical. Again, do we have confirmation that this switch on the Luke was harvested from an Exactra calculator? No, we do not. Could they have used it? Yes, it's possible, because they had so many of these lying around, so they could have easily taken out a switch and put it into there, but we don't know that for sure. Okay, let's move on. So there we have the screws and the switches. Next comes this. This is the one that sort of everyone is after, this bubble strip here. This is the one that magnifies the digits. As you can see, there are 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Later models of the Exactra will have 9 digits. So they are 9 bubbles, which are a little bit smaller in size, so they can fit in the calculator and they're squished closer together. So these are obviously not going to be accurate for your lightsabers, unfortunately, because they are widely available and much cheaper. But sadly, they are not accurate for any of the Star Wars props. So with this, let's have a look. Let's remove that. Okay, it appears to be glued somehow underneath, so I'm going to have to do this later off camera so I can concentrate on what I'm doing and not damage it. But I mean, you can clearly see the bubble strip there. Now this bubble strip obviously will be familiar to most of you. It's the same bubble strip that's used on the Graflex A New Hope. It's the same one that's used on the Obi-Wan Kenobi A New Hope, just slightly cut differently to fit the clamps. This has been shortened for Darth Vader A New Hope V1. And once again, Darth Vader Empire Strikes Back, also shortened to fit the smaller clamp of the MPP. It is worth mentioning that there are two variants that I know of the bubble strip. This commoner one has a clear background, just like all the ones that I've shown you here. It's clear. And it also has, if you look at the side, there on the side of the bubble, you can see that it's sort of straight. It's almost pinched from the side. I'll just zoom into it. There, you can see, if you look at the edge of the bubble there, it's not a perfect sphere. It's sort of cut straight. And that is the more common variant that you get in these calculators. The second variant has much more rounded bubbles. Well, not much more, I would say. I mean, it's subtle, but they are rounded. They are fully rounded. So they're without that straight cut over there. A little bit more, slightly sit higher than this. And the background, this part here, is not clear. It's more frosted. That one is a rare variant, and when you do find it, it's much more expensive. The reason being, obviously, first of all, it's more rare. Second of all, it's accurate for the Obi-Wan A New Hope, unlike this one, which isn't. So yeah, the frosted with the fully rounded bubbles is accurate for Obi-Wan A New Hope and possibly Darth Vader, but I'm not too sure about that. The common variant with the clear bubbles is accurate for the Graflex and is accurate for the MPP ESB for sure. This one I'm not too sure about. It could be either one. Sadly, we just don't have very good reference photos of these. Okay, so we've talked about the screws, the switches, and the bubble strip. Moving on, underneath here you can see, I've lifted this up so you can sort of get a better look. You can see this PCB board that's underneath, and that is soldered, so I can't remove it at the minute. So there's solders underneath, which I'll have to undo. But I've lifted the tape slightly so you can get a closer look. Okay, so what makes this PCB interesting is that it was used for at least this one, Darth Vader's ESB. You can see there is a teal one. So again, this comes in several variants. The commoner ones are either green or tan, like a sort of faded brown. Those are the most common. The next ones, like a little bit more rare, are blue and teal, which is kind of a lighter shade of greenish blue. Those are a little bit more rare. And then the most rare is this one. It's got actual LEDs instead of the bubble strip. So you open up your calculator and then you find a blue or a green PCB with these individual square-shaped red LEDs on them. That is extremely rare. This is obviously a replica. I recently saw one of these vintage ones sold for $2,000, just to let you know how crazy rare and expensive these ones could go for. This is obviously accurate for MPP A New Hope V2 only. So yeah, the red. I don't know if there's bubble strips. There probably are bubble strips on top of these as well. To be honest, I'm not sure. There might be. I have a feeling the frosted bubble strip comes on top of that one too, but I'm not too sure. But anyway, so that is the most rare variant of the PCB, the blue one with the red LEDs. Slightly more common is this teal one. As you can see, it's not the deep blue that you normally see. It's more of a light greenish blue. and also the deeper blue that we all know. These are both normally used for ESB. All the replicas, like from Slot Furnace, are the deep blue, but this is actually a vintage card underneath. So I was lucky enough to find someone who wanted to sell their... Oh, it does come out. Oh, good, I can show you. I'll just take this off. It's just taped. It's not a big deal. I can put it back together. So this has been cut to size. So that's the teal vintage PCB. So that will be sort of that central part there. And if we look at the New Hope one, I'm just curious whether I've got the same shade of green, because this one is a vintage too. Oh, by the way, this one, the MPP V1, A New Hope, we really don't have confirmation if there's anything underneath the bubbles or not. There's a lot of skepticism about that. A lot of people say that there's nothing underneath there. It's just the bubbles that are sitting up high or whatever. But I just chose to put it in there because I got this for free from a friend and it's a vintage, so I just like the way it looks. So I have the green one. As you can see, this one is definitely a lighter shade of green. Whether it's faded or it's a different variant, I'm not sure. They both look really, really good. Unless this is the tan one that I think this might be that tan version that I'm talking about. I'll have to do a little bit more digging and ask friends of mine who've collected some of these. But yeah, that's the green one. We looked at the blue one under ESB. So these go underneath the bubble strips of the MPP, at least the ESB one. And then obviously we have the bubble strip, we have the switches, and in the back we have the screws. And that really is it for today. I just thought I'd share this interesting piece of equipment from the 70s and all its various uses in all these props. See Graflexes, MPPs, Obi-Wans, all sorts of props. And those are the ones that I know of, by the way. There probably are some more. I mean, yeah, we've got Obi-Wan's motorized stunt that had a bubble strip as well. I mean, there's a ton more stunt hilts, Graflexes, and MPPs that I haven't even... I don't even have in my collection. They probably have parts from this as well. So this is a very useful piece of equipment if you can find one at a good price. Normally, these go on eBay for anything between $250 to $300. I did not spend that much on this. I just got lucky and snagged a bargain. But yeah, that's just to give you a general idea of the prices these go for. And there's sadly no way to know which one is going to have the incredibly rare blue PCB with the red LEDs. It's basically just a luck of the draw, and you may hit the jackpot. I didn't, but you know, I'm still very, very happy with this. Okay, well, that was it for today. Nice quick one. Thanks again for watching and for all the support, and I will see you in the next one.